She was the woman who stole scenes from Scorsese, who made David Lynch see her as a hidden treasure, who shared the screen with her own daughter and changed Hollywood history. Diane Ladd, three-time Academy Award nominee, Golden Globe winner, actress, writer, director, mother, and just 2 weeks ago we learned why she really left us. At 89 years old on November 3, 2025, one of Hollywood's most authentic, most vibrant, most underestimated talents passed away quietly at her home in Ojai, California, with her daughter Laura Dern by her side. But what the world didn't know was what had been quietly stealing her breath for years. This is the story of a woman who spent 7 decades giving everything she had to the screen, and the silent battle that finally took her from us. Her name at birth was Rose Diane Ladd. Born November 29, 1935, in Laurel, Mississippi, she came from a world that had nothing to do with Hollywood glamour. Her father was a veterinarian. Her mother was a housewife who sometimes acted. She was an only child in the Deep South, raised on the gentleness of Mississippi summers and the strictness of a different era. But even as a girl, there was something undeniable about her. Something magnetic. By her teenage years, she'd moved to New Orleans to finish school. And she didn't just blend into the background. She sang with a band in the French Quarter. She was crowned the Empress of a carnival crew. She had opportunities that most young women her age couldn't even imagine. Then came a chance that changed everything. At just 16 years old, she was offered a role in a Tennessee Williams play. Tennessee Williams, her distant cousin, one of the greatest writers America has ever produced. She turned down law school at Louisiana State University for that role. By her late teens and early 20s, she was in New York City, working at the famous Copacabana nightclub as a dancer, making her off-Broadway debut in Orpheus Descending, a Tennessee Williams play that the world was just beginning to understand. It was there, on that stage, that she met Bruce Dern, the actor who would become her first husband. They married in 1960, had 2 daughters. The first, little Diane Elizabeth, was born on November 27, 1960. But tragedy struck when she was just 18 months old. On May 18, 1962, she drowned in the family pool in an accident that would haunt Diane for the rest of her life. She fell into the water, hit her head, and suffered a massive brain hemorrhage. Then Laura in 1967. Laura Dern, who would decades later become an Oscar winner herself. But Diane Ladd didn't become Diane Ladd, mother of Laura Dern, right away. She had to build something first. Something all her own. For years, she worked in films nobody remembers, low-budget biker movies with her husband, guest spots on television, soap operas. She was hustling, grinding, working in the trenches of Hollywood, where most actors stay forever. But in 1974, everything aligned. That was the year she appeared in Roman Polanski's Chinatown, a masterpiece, a film that would define a generation of cinema. She played a minor role, but she was there. She was part of something legendary. And then came the same year, something else happened, something that would define her entire career. Martin Scorsese's Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Ellen Burstyn starred as Alice, a widow trying to rebuild her life, and Diane Ladd played Flo, a waitress, brash, funny, real, full of heart, a woman with a sharp tongue who cared deeply about her friend. The role should have been a supporting character, a forgettable sidekick. But Diane Ladd was not a forgettable person. She brought something raw to Flo, something that made you feel like you'd met this woman before, like you knew someone exactly like her. She improvised, she brought her own life into the performance, and critics noticed. Movie critics, Oscar voters, everyone noticed. She was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. She won the BAFTA Award. She became at last recognized as a serious actress. Alice became a television series after that, and while the TV version cast Polly Holiday as Flo, Diane joined the cast as Belle Dupree for the 1980 season. And for that role in 1981, she won the Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actress on Television. But Diane Ladd was just getting started. The real reinvention of her career was waiting. For years after Alice, Diane Ladd worked steadily. She appeared in films like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Black Widow, Ghosts of Mississippi. She was never the star. She was always the supporting actress, the character player, the woman who made a scene unforgettable. But there was a feeling, among those who knew her work, that the world hadn't truly seen her yet. Then, in 1990, something extraordinary happened. Director David Lynch was casting a film called Wild at Heart, and he saw something in Diane Ladd that most directors didn't. The role was Marietta Fortune, the deranged, obsessive mother of Lula, played by real-life daughter Laura Dern. Marietta is a woman consumed by jealousy and rage, willing to hire a hitman to stop her daughter from running away with her lover. She's wild, she's unhinged, she's everything a polite character actress should probably avoid. Diane Ladd took it and made it immortal. Bruce Dern, her ex-husband and Laura's father, said it best years later. He called Diane a hidden treasure before Wild at Heart. But when David Lynch cast her in that role, it felt like the world then really understood her brilliance. She earned her second Academy Award nomination for that performance. Laura earned her first nomination for Best Actress, and the film won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. The following year, in 1991, Diane and Laura appeared together again in Rambling Rose, another film where Diane was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, her third Oscar nomination. And in that same year, they made history. Diane Ladd and Laura Dern became the first mother-daughter duo ever to be nominated for an Academy Award for the same film in the same year. It was a moment of vindication. It was proof that Diane's journey, the years of small roles, the character work, the patience, had all been leading to something real, something eternal. She and Laura would continue to work together. In the HBO series Enlightened, in David Lynch's Inland Empire, they became partners in a way that transcended the typical mother-daughter relationship. They were actresses. They were collaborators. They understood each other's craft in a way that money and fame could never define. By the time Diane Ladd reached her 80s, she had done something that few actors manage. She had built a career that spanned more than 7 decades. Over 200 film and television appearances, 3 Oscar nominations, 4 Golden Globe nominations, countless awards, recognition as one of the finest character actresses in American cinema. But there was something growing in her body that nobody could see on screen. In 2018, Diane received a diagnosis that changed everything. Idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, a serious lung disease, the kind that's progressive, relentless, and life-altering. It's a condition where lung tissue gradually thickens and becomes scarred, making it harder and harder to breathe with each passing year. The doctors gave her sobering news. They misdiagnosed her condition initially as pneumonia. They told her she had 6 months to a year to live. She didn't accept that verdict quietly. Instead, she and Laura made a choice. They began taking daily walks together. And as they walked, they talked. They recorded their conversations. They decided to capture something real, something honest, the kind of conversation that usually stays private. Out of those walks came a memoir, published in 2023. Honey Baby Mine, a mother and daughter talk life, death, love, and banana pudding. It's a book about mortality, about legacy, about what really matters when the lights go down and you're alone with the people you love most. It's Diane Ladd at her most authentic, her most vulnerable. But the disease was getting worse. Interstitial lung disease is relentless. It doesn't care about your achievements. It doesn't care that you've been nominated for 3 Oscars. It doesn't care that you changed cinema alongside David Lynch and Martin Scorsese. Contributing to the disease was another condition, esophageal dysmotility, a condition where the muscles of the esophagus fail to move food and liquids properly. The combination of these 2 conditions was stealing her ability to breathe, to swallow, to do the basic things that we all take for granted. On November 3, 2025, Diane Ladd woke up at her home in Ojai, California. Laura was there with her. This was how she wanted it, surrounded by the person who knew her best. Not in a hospital, not hooked to machines, but at home. That morning, her body finally gave way to what years of illness had been preparing. Acute on chronic hypoxic respiratory failure. That's the medical term for what happened. It means her lungs simply couldn't exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide anymore. It was a sudden worsening of a condition that had been slowly stealing her breath for 7 years. Her death certificate, released 2 weeks later, listed the contributing factors: the interstitial lung disease that had been progressing for years, the esophageal dysmotility, her body shutting down in a cascade of failures that couldn't be stopped. She was 89 years old, and she was ready. Laura released a statement that said everything you needed to know about who Diane Ladd really was. My amazing hero and my profound gift of a mother, Diane Ladd, passed with me beside her this morning at her home in Ojai, California. She was the greatest daughter, mother, grandmother, actress, artist, and empathetic spirit that only dreams could have seemingly created. We were blessed to have her. She is flying with her angels now. Bruce Dern, her ex-husband, also paid tribute. He called her funny, clever, gracious, a great teammate to her fellow actors. But more than anything, he said, she was a wonderful mother to our incredible wonderkeen daughter, and for that, I will be forever grateful to her. Diane was cremated on November 10th. No fanfare, no media circus, just the quiet end to a life that had been anything but quiet. In her final years, Diane Ladd was more than just an actress. She was an author, a spiritual teacher, a board member of the Screen Actors Guild for decades, fighting for actors' rights, a woman who had witnessed the entire evolution of American cinema, from the studio system to the age of streaming. She won over 57 international awards. She appeared in films that defined generations. She changed what it means to be a character actress. She proved that you don't have to be young or conventionally beautiful to own the screen. You just have to be true. Her last film was released in 2015. It was called Joy. She played the grandmother of Jennifer Lawrence's character, and she also narrated the entire film. Even in her later years, even as her lungs were slowly failing, she was still working, still showing up, still giving everything she had. That was Diane Ladd. Right up until the end. Diane Ladd left us on November 3rd, 2025. But she left something behind that no disease can take away. Performances that live forever on screen. A daughter she raised to be a star. Books that will be read for generations. A legacy that proves one simple truth. Real talent, real artistry, real humanity. Those things never die. If you knew Diane Ladd's work, or if this is the first time you're learning about her story, drop a comment below. Tell me which of her films meant the most to you. And if you want to hear more stories about the legends of Hollywood, the ones we remember, and the ones we sometimes forget, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching.